Guys, here we go. Welcome back. Episode number 6, Chris Opdyke Show. Today I have in husband and wife, Michelle and Mike Tiedemann, Michelle Pires-Tiedemann. They are the owners of Current Recovery and Performance. They have one store in Bricktown and one store in Belmar. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Talk a little bit just real quick about like your backgrounds, what you went to school for, your certifications and stuff like that. Michelle, we can start with you.
Okay. So I have a doctorate in physical therapy, so I went through my training, in physical therapy school, 4 years undergrad, 3 years of grad school, came out with my doctorate, and then continued on pursuing my career in physical therapy.
Okay. Mike?
I actually went to school for journalism and marketing, and kind of, I don't want to say fell into this, but, after meeting Michelle and dating Michelle, just kind of, snowballed into kind of where we are today, just kind of using that kind of background and trying to help the company in that aspect.
All right, great. So, Michelle, you started in kind of that PT field, and you weren't like any young kid coming out of college. You're all excited, right? You're going out and you got your first job. And after working there for a little bit, you weren't as excited as you might have hoped you were going to be coming out. So, talk about that piece a little bit when you got your first job.
So, obviously, like you said, when I came out of school, it was exciting, and I started to work in a place and worked 40, 50, 60 hours at times, and I found myself quickly burning out because it was not that I was burning out with the hours, more so that I was burning out with not feeling like I was doing what I thought I should be doing. So I kind of did that for a couple years. Obviously, you have to make a living and get your feet wet, and after I felt pretty comfortable and confident in myself, I kind of wanted to break away and just really make my own vision kind of come true and kind of follow through with what I really thought I should be doing with my degree and what I wanted to do with rehab, and kind of follow through with that. So
how many years did you work like for another guy in their practice?
So I went through a couple different companies, but it was probably a total of 3 years, a little under 3 years probably, which can be sometimes a little daunting because you're kind of a new grad still. When I hire people, anyone who's under 3 years, I kind of look at them as a new grad. So it's funny to think that I started the company by myself, still kind of learning the actual art of physical therapy before, to then all of a sudden have a whole company to myself. But I was pretty confident with it, and I figured, this was the way. If I was going to do it, it was better to do it when I was younger. I didn't have, the demands that I do as I get older, but and I also just felt really comfortable knowing that if, for whatever reason, if it does fail, which I didn't believe it would, but I felt like if it did, that I could still fall back and get a job somewhere else and kind of do that. So I figured I'd try to do it while I'm young and more energy than I do now, probably.
Yeah. So you went out on your own in 2011. How'd you come up with the name?
Well, that's actually Mike's side of it. I'm the analytical. I'm the mathematician and science person. So when it came to anything involving outside of that, I kind of relied on him. So he can
we're, I guess, very beach oriented, so we kind of wanted something kind of linking the two, like kind of like our what we like, and kind of if we're going to put a name on it, might as well be something that we're proud of. So we went through a handful of things. I'm kind of like self-taught in like Photoshop and things like that, so I was just throwing things together for her to kind of for her to vet, so to speak. We went through a couple, and then just kind of current. It kind of our tagline was the new wave of physical therapy. So we like to keep things current, bring things new into the company, and kind of offer. And also, current, we could kind of tie in the wave and the water aspect. So once we kind of nailed that down, we were like, oh, that seems like it's the right fit.
Both of you, were you guys dating when you went out on your own to start your own place?
Yeah, he actually was working for the NBA and working from home, which was very much help to me. So when I kind of was working at another company, I broke away, I left there, and thankfully at the time I was working for a company doing part-time work. So I kind of was able to make my own hours, and I used that for probably about 6 months, where I used whatever hours I needed for a paycheck, consistent paycheck.
Right.
And then kind of the other days of the week, I just built my own business. So we were living together at the time, and I kind of told him, it probably wasn't the smartest thing because we did have a mortgage. So, but I told him, all right, I'll be able to make the monthly payments, based on this paycheck, but I want to really build this, over our time. And he was more the computer guy, and as our business was kind of in a pivotal point where we were switching over to what we call EMR, electric records. So at the time when I was working at places, we did a lot of paper charts. It was pretty easy for me. I was like, oh, sure. But they were just starting to switch everything to electronic, and I'm not much of a millennial, so I don't understand some of these, some of the electronic parts of it. So I kind of brought him into it, asking him, coding and stuff like this. And even though it is very medical based, he understood it much more than I did because it's just basically deciphering codes, and he was able to figure out all the billing and do all the coding for me. So I kind of was like, well, can you do it then if you're going to be sitting home and working? And even though he had another full-time job, but he was home, he was able to kind of balance it out. So yeah, so he kind of took on that role. In the beginning, I was only seeing maybe like 5 or 6 patients a week, so it was 5 or 6 claims a week. Now to roll it into like,
yeah, I jumped right into it, not really knowing a lot, but it was a slow kind of process to kind of build up my knowledge and kind of build.
So it kind of worked to your advantage a little bit, right? Starting out slow and
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, if looking back on it, I'm trying to teach one of our employees now, like kind of maybe giving her a little bit of kind of what I'm doing, and I actually showed her. I guess it was yesterday, and I could just see in her face like it was just a lot to handle, and I was like, well, yeah, I guess I'm going back on it. I was like, well, that was me, I guess at this point 7 years ago, if not longer. But yeah, kind of self-taught, trial by fire, so to speak, but. So far, so good. Yeah.
I think a lot of our guys that come in that are business owners, they all say the same thing. It's trial by fire. I learned kind of as
especially
I did.
On the business aspect of it.
There's no kind of
no book.
There's no book.
No, I did have a professor that really did help me though, because I kind of called him up and I was like, I need help. I don't know how to do this. And
you can say his name. Go ahead.
Actually, I don't even remember his name.
I forget. What's up?
Well, yeah, I know. He, I don't even know. But anyway,
but shout out to that guy.
Yeah, Madison Physical Therapy. That's what I'll remember because it's my dog's name. So, but he definitely helped me, just giving me more so just confidence to saying like you can just ask people. You can just call. If you call an insurance company, just call them and ask them questions. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So that's how we kind of went
and
forward
being comfortable
with it.
Knowing that. I mean, for me, anyway, that I'm going to make a mistake. Especially in the beginning, and obviously, like they always say, you have to learn from that mistake, and just kind of going through that process. Was I guess in the beginning, it's almost like weird to think back that far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, kind of easing your way into it, and just knowing like, hey, if I mess up, it's okay. It's just kind of us right now. We're not employing anybody.
Yeah.
But now it's a little different. But now that we have a handful of people under us. Yeah.
So talk about when you were going out, looking for property, looking for an office, setting up the LLC, the accounts piece, the budgets piece.
Yeah, it's again all brand new to me, to us. So that was definitely a learning curve. We set up a business plan. Not so much to bring to like banks or anybody for loans or anything like that, but just kind of to get our minds wrapped around it, to kind of keep us focused and kind of all right, like point A to B to C and things like that, and kind of linking it together. In the very beginning, it was just Michelle, and she was actually going to people's homes, which she can obviously speak to more. We were looking for the people that necessarily couldn't get to a facility, whether it's due to an injury, but more so like just family, like they had 2 kids and they just physically don't have the time, literally don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
kind of
doing house calls.
Yeah, that's kind of what we kind of was our niche in the beginning. We still do it in some aspects. We've grown to a point where we can still handle it. And obviously, we have our home bases now, but it's definitely started slowly, and we definitely saw a market for that. Just people that needed the therapy, but just didn't have the time to fit it in.
And
really.
it also helped us because we had no overhead. So that's how we kind of looked at it. I wanted to always stay in the green. I just wanted to make sure we were making money, and not putting more out. So in the beginning, it was a matter of just, okay, how much can I bring in? And anything I bring in is I had really, really low overhead. So it worked for me. I was just able to kind of do it as much as I physically had the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a 12-hour day, I tried to fill up a 12-hour day. There was days that I would leave at 7 in the morning and pack a lunch and a breakfast, a lunch and a dinner all in my thing, and I'd be like, I'm on the road and I'll see you tonight. And that's how I kind of just, and it gave us a reputation, and we kind of started, meeting people in the community and, just in the local area. And then they started to say, okay, why don't you have a space? And I said, well, I don't know if I want one, but yeah, it would be easier because I was bringing a table everywhere. I was bringing a backpack. You know, I was lugging everything with me.
So when you first started, you actually didn't have a physical,
no,
no brick and mortar.
Yeah, we
you
did.
Her
you just,
office was kind of her car at that point, just
Yeah.
bringing all the materials, equipment, and things like
Yeah.
that.
So we then it was right before Sandy. We then decided let's try to find a small room and just kind of make that our little space. And really, it was nothing. It was no bigger than this room, probably, if not smaller. It was a pretty small room. So it was just somewhere to throw our stuff down, and maybe people can come there. And that happened for a couple months, and then all of a sudden, I kind of started. That's when I really got the itch because I started to see the turnover, and I was like, okay, I think this
People
is.
will actually come to see us, or in
Yeah.
this case, her.
This
not,
was
not
really
not
it
coming
was-
to see me. Really.
Yeah, it was really happening more, and I was like, I either need to keep it here, which means I'm just gonna basically, not to say break even, but just kind of be where I am, or I need to take the next step and kind of invest in myself a little bit. So that's when we decided we were going to look for a space that was more of a facility, you know, more of more of a clinic, and to the detriment of his, I guess, all your gray hairs. I then went around and started looking at retail space, and things kind of happened more naturally there with looking at different spaces. We kind of knew what our budget was and kind of planned some things out. And then we actually, our first space that we have, and we still have it, we bought it. So we ended up, it's a small space, but we bought it. It was in our own condo. We were living, and I was like, I think the space downstairs is for sale. And he's like, well, we're not buying anything. I'm like, well, wouldn't that make most sense if we could, you know? It really, and he hates that.
Yeah, it's tough to wrap my head around.
Yeah. And, you know, we had one mortgage now, and he's like, we're going to have two mortgages. And at this time, we still are not married. I don't even think we were engaged. So, so we were kind of making some pretty serious things together, but not, but not on that front. But yeah, we found that space and we bought it, and that would made it actually went from I was traveling for 12 hours a day to then I wasn't leaving a condo.
Yeah, walking downstairs.
Walking downstairs and just basically going upstairs for lunch and coming back downstairs. But again, that also allowed me to then work just
every
stupid
hour you
hours.
wanted to.
Yeah, it was just I would work at it whenever, all the time, and I would just be like, okay, I don't have a patient now. All right, this is my downtime. I have 45 minutes. I'm gonna go and eat, or I'm gonna go, you know, sit back. And so then we just built the business from there, and that's where it kind of quickly grew. And then I realized I needed more help.
And you started in 2011. So when did you get the actual first rent the space downstairs?
We should probably know this quicker than this,
Yeah.
but because so we've been in Belmark. It's going to be 3 years. We were trying to work backwards. Probably 5 years ago. I want to say we've probably been there for about 2 years.
Yeah, it was probably
Give or take.
Now, do you guys still have that facility, or did you grow out of it?
Yeah, we still have it. We kind of turned it into kind of like a billing office, so to speak, and just kind of we kind of rotate hours there. Who's going to be there? Kind of doing like more like on a paperwork back end type thing.
Yeah.
Our patients really liked it. You know, it was small. It was quaint. Again, it wasn't very big. We had 2 PT tables, and then we kind of made the jump.
So everyone would always say, "Oh, this place is really small." It was 800 square feet, and we were like,
"Where's all your machines?
Yeah, where's everything?"
All
and we spent so much time for over probably 2 years telling people we're really one-on-one, and we really like to, work on your body, and postural control, and stability and mobility, and you don't really need all these fancy things. And then all of a sudden a switch hit, and now we're at 6,400 square feet, and we have shiny things, and now we don't rely on them from a rehab standpoint, but we kind of, as the business was growing, our biggest question was, what else can I do? What can I incorporate? How can I go from here? Or the other part of it was, we were trying to expand other specialties and we did need more room. Like we do a certification where we do a running assessments. I can't do a running assessment in 800 square feet, so I was bringing them out to, down the street, and I was trying to video them, and then the geese are running by, and I'm like, oh gosh. So we then realized we needed a bigger platform. If we were going to be a little bit more serious about some of our specialties and our certifications, that we probably needed to kind of go there. So that's when we kind of sat down, and I always envisioned something more than just rehab, than physical therapy, because I believe that not only is the physical therapy think, very different and offers more than most people realize. But also, we are a little constrained to insurances right now, and we're really constrained to the demand on reimbursement. That I didn't want to fall into that. I didn't want to be that company that's, has basically, in network contracts where you're limited to how much you're getting reimbursed, and you feel like you're worth so much more than that.
Right.
And that's where our medical community is basically. I mean, everyone's that way. And I understand that, and I just kind of was like, well, I'm a very stubborn person, and I was like, I'm going to figure out another way. So we tried to break away from being so constrained to insurances and everything of that sort, and tried to build more of our cash-based. And with that, we couldn't, there's other physical therapy places that have a cash-based program, but I wanted to make sure people were investing not only just in that, but understanding that it was an investment in their wellness in their whole life. They invest in many things in their life, but their body is something that they're going to have their whole entire life, and I don't think people forget that that should be a huge investment.
Yeah.
So we then branched out, and we decided we were going to open an offshoot to Current Rehab, and it was kind of the gray area. It was the bridging the gap, I think is a term that's used a lot, but it was really bridging the gap between when you're injured and when you're not injured, and what's in between. It's taking care of yourself so you don't get injured. Not the best probably model, because I right now I make a living off of people being injured and hurt. Why am I then creating a model where I'm trying to keep people from getting injured and hurt? But people still get injured and hurt, so I'm okay with it. Yeah. So we basically then started Current Recovery probably about 2 years ago, where we went and looked for a bigger space, and we were thinking, all right, there's a lot of products out there in the industry that help, with wellness, overall wellness, and my big thing is inflammation. I do a lot of research and studies based on disease pathology and different types of autoimmune conditions, and even just regular day-to-day issues that all stem from the underlying thing, which is inflammation. And I did a lot of research and looking into what kind of things can help us for inflammatory control. And that was that's where we kind of started to put together products per se that could help people. And we started with Current Recovery, just kind of continuing forward with the name. And that was about 2 years ago in Belmar. And at the time, the thought was, let's keep it there, and we have Current Rehab down the street in Bradley Beach, and therapy is going to be therapy, and recovery is going to be recovery, and there's really going to be no overlap, and somehow it just totally merged together, which you would expect, but I don't know if I expected it to be as,
fast as it happened.
Yeah. I went from having 2.5 therapists, including myself, to now I have 7 therapists. The demand really went high. I thought that actually the recovery would feed the rehab, but I found the rehab actually feeds the recovery pretty well.
Depending on the person, it goes back and forth a little bit, but I don't want, it's great that we're growing, and we obviously love it. But yeah, I think if you told, at least me anyway, when we were in that little office in Bradley, that we have, I guess, 20 employees and 2 locations, I'm turning gray, but my hair probably would have fell out just then and there at hearing that. But yeah, it's been good. We love it. We like bringing these types of things to the general population.
And I think that's what's going on, like kind of all over the place right now. You guys have these big shiny things that you talk about, and it's available to the average person, or the guy who's a runner who's trying to do 35 miles a week or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Although you do have some world-class athletes coming into your place, right? That's probably not the majority of the business. The majority of the business is the average guy coming in for a recovery and the rehab piece as well.
Yeah. I'd say on like just the recovery modality, the cryo, the normatec, the sauna, and things like that. The athletes obviously are going to benefit, right? They're beating up their bodies, whatever the case may be, whether it's MMA, football, basketball, whatever sport they're participating in. But the everyday, just the 50-year-old guy that's been just abusing his body over the years, whether it's athletics growing up or just a 9-to-5 job, we're seeing the benefits quicker. Or, they're getting, everybody's getting the benefits, but seeing the more positive benefits quicker and more apparent, I'd say, in that population. And they're very appreciative too, which has been great to see. They can't thank us enough. And meanwhile, we're just like I said, we want to be able to offer these types of things that you see in these pro locker rooms, and people just think they're just for athletes.
Yeah.
At the time when I was working for the NBA, I would just show Michelle some things, be like, hey, listen, take a look at this, and she'd vet it from a scientific standpoint. And just speaking to the cryo itself, was working on inflammation. And we're just, well, everybody has inflammation, whether you think about it or not. So, why not? If LeBron James is doing it, great. But like, why not just the everyday person? They're going to see the benefits just as much, if not more.
So when you open the big facility, and now you have, like you said, all the big equipment in there and stuff. Talk about the staff a little bit in there and some of the guys that help you out along the way as well, because you obviously don't do it just the two of you, right?
No, not anymore. Yeah, I mean, I actually we try to separate the two because there's different demands from each side of it. The physical therapy side just has such different demands because again, we still do deal with insurances, so there's so much paperwork. It's just never ending. So that part of it, we have like a huge support staff with that, and then we have the other side, which is the recovery side, which I try to probably lean on him to handle more of, only because we kind of have to separate it at some point. And we've grown our staff. I think overall, our big thing is they're all our family because they're basically taking care of our life. The company, just being that we're both invested in it as husband and wife, and it supports us. So them working for us and taking care of something is just as important as taking care of a child, because that is our child. It's something that we're really passionate about, and we make sure that we try to take care of our staff to the best of the ability that we can. I also believe that I like to give a platform for our staff to grow. I think often not when you go work for companies is, even if you're happy, sometimes if there's no potential for growth, it's hard for people to want to stay there,
Yeah.
So it's trying to share the wealth, but try to let them have more of a platform to grow. And it was hard from the beginning because the more I do, the more I get to keep myself, If I work more, I get to see the benefits of that. And now it's like I have to spread that around because they're helping support the bigger picture. So we went from basically the two of us to maybe four of us, and then all of a sudden snapped our fingers and we have 21 employees between the two companies and varying. I have 7 therapists, 3 people that work in our offices, and the office manager and front desk, and then we have a variety of technicians that we bring on, not just a high school summer job kind of position. It's a position where they really are
And we've done that before, and it's, I don't want to say bit us, but it's we like to.
It limits us.
Yeah. So I'd like to if you're say you come in, you're whoever's gonna run you through that particular session, whatever it is, you come in. We like to have them have a background in whether it's their personal trainer, massage therapist, cupping therapist, fascial stretch therapist, yoga instructor. So they know the body in some aspect, whether they're not just like, oh, we train them to push these buttons and see you on your way. So that way they can have a conversation with you. If you bring something up, they can kind of point you in the right direction. Hey, why don't you try this, or have you tried this, and things like that. So we like to have them have a knowledge, a general knowledge, or and it's worked out. They're all great. Like Michelle said, we kind of consider it our family. Anytime we bring somebody on, we don't, it is a job obviously first, but we want to create that atmosphere that everyone, that it kind of use it as like brother sister type thing and things like that, and we all get along and have fun at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part for being a business owner, right? Bringing people on, and then the harder part is probably you bring somebody on and now they're not like a fit, and now you got to kind of let them go. Talk about that piece a little bit as an owner, how you kind of have to do that.
Yeah, the hiring process, again, brand new to us at the time, but I'm gonna say like a journey, but it's definitely it's different. You can interview somebody, you sit down and talk to them, but I feel like in this field, and Michelle can speak to it more on a therapy side. You read a resume, great. You talk to them, all right, they're good. If they're not the right fit in terms of their manual skills, it's tough to gauge that just sitting across from somebody. So,
we have to get out the trenches a little bit.
Yeah, so it's for me, I've been on interviews, prior to this job, and like, yeah, all right, you're qualified to do X, Y, and Z, right, in front of a computer. That's kind of mainly what I've done. So, all right, so you can get that job done. But yeah, on a manual level, whether it's a massage therapist, whatever it is on a therapy level, it's been, for me anyway, different, I would say. Difficult at times, but, like anything, it's growing pains. So, it's to be expected.
We have such an intimate relationship with our patients and clients that it's really much more than just a skill set. You can be certified and you can be graduated top in your class, but if you don't know what to do with all of it, it's really hard. It's such a people.
There's like a bedside manner piece to it.
Yeah, and it's like even more so. I mean, I don't know. I just find that I have some therapists. I can train them a skill. I can teach them something. I can work on something to get better at, but I can't teach someone how to be compassionate to people. I can't teach
Empathy.
people how to listen when someone's talking. You can't teach those things, and unfortunately, it's so needed in our field, and not just on the rehab, but on the recovery side, because some people come in and they're emotionally a mess, which is causing physical havoc, and maybe their physical part is not their issue, it's their emotional, and you have to kind of break that down, and then you have to be comfortable and then delicate on how you say it. I've had many people who I spend sometimes half the session talking about their family stress, and then they're saying, well, my back is killing me today. And I'm like, okay, but nothing that I'm finding is correlating with your back pain. It's your mental pain, and you can't really just say, get over it, or, but there's so many, it's such a difference. So to find people that kind of fit that mold, it's really hard, and you kind of have to wait and see how it goes when they're put in that environment. But I don't find that, overall, I guess at this point, I feel like we've done very well with who we found and who's come with us. People have left. Part of it, thankfully they recognized the deficits and they kind of walked away from the situation. I don't make sometimes a situation very easy when I'm not happy, so I will definitely call myself out on that. If I don't like something, everyone knows it. Yeah, everyone knows it, and thankfully, there's been employees who kind of just been like, "Yep, this is not right for me. I'm walking away," and I'm like, "Okay, bye." So it's worked itself out, and it's worked it out for the better of the company and the patients and clients that we have now, because I can now comfortably say that when I am not in the office, which there was some years that I really was like, I'm never going to be able to leave here. I'm never going to be able to
Never go on vacation
not
again.
be here, because I feel like things just aren't as good as they can be when I'm here. But I'm getting to the point, where I'm like, no, sometimes they handle it better than I do,
Yeah.
And I really am getting, personally, I'm having more confidence in my staff. Also, I'm having more comfortable, I guess, more confidence in just them, knowing that things can get done outside. It's a personal thing for me too, because I'm a control freak. But
I think both of us are. That was another big thing, like obstacle to get over. Letting some of like my job duties go and just teaching people and just like knowing that they're going to get it done, and they do. So it's on the back end, it's reassuring that we can then step away and kind of let them flourish, and they've all responded beautifully, and it's allowed us to grow to the point of where we are.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like what you guys do. I know when we were talking on the phone the other night, you were big on the invest in your health piece, and probably most people don't, and I think we all do, right? We'll be on a diet for some period of time, and we eat good for a month or 6 weeks, and then we forget and all that kind of stuff. But we don't forget to get the oil changed in our car, or new tires for that, or anything like that. So we keep our car running well. Talk about your philosophy on the invest in your health piece, and then after that, we'll talk about the modalities and the things that you guys use in your place to work with that.
So, I mean, I always tell my patients that I prefer. This is how I kind of saw it. This is how current recovery kind of came to. Is that I always said, don't wait until it's an issue. Come to me beforehand. And people always think I only do therapy, if I have surgery or if the doctor tells me to. But obviously, our field is so much more than that now, and we become more of not just rehab and taking care of broken things, but more so is maintenance and making sure things work better. So it started with just telling people is get to me sooner than later, because as I said before, with inflammation is the longer it sits, more inflammation, more compensatory things happen, and it just takes it makes my job harder, and it takes longer to get better. So we kind of push people to kind of go take care of it a little bit sooner. And with that means you're going to have to take time away from other things. You might obviously financially have to invest in it a little bit. And you really might have to, modify something else that maybe you love, like, running. Like, might have to modify that a little bit. So we do have to alter a little bit of their daily routine, but it's for the better. It's for the greater picture of making their body move more efficiently, so that then disease process doesn't happen, so that osteoarthritis doesn't happen, so that they feel better, they have more energy, they're happier. I mean, that's a huge thing. I correlate pain with, unhappiness and depression. It's it's hand in hand. And
anxiety. Yeah, we have somebody coming in that was doing the cryo before her daughter's wedding, and she was talking to somebody. I was like, inflammation that'll cause stress. If you bring that down, you won't be as stressed. And she's like, you know what? I was actually really calm on my daughter's wedding day. And I was like, she's like, I think it is all this stuff. So it's been cool to see on that aspect that it can help on multiple levels.
And it helps with everything. It's not just I can run faster. It's I can be a better mom. I can be a better husband. Like I have a husband and wife duo that I've known for years. They actually were one of my first patients on the road, and now they continue to come to me on and off. And the wife came in one time and said, "I want to thank you for." My husband doesn't moan every single time he gets off the couch. And I laughed at her. She's like, "No, you don't understand." She goes, "Every single time it takes him 10 minutes to get off the couch, and he would moan and he would curse and he would get up." And she goes, "Now he pops up and it's like he has energy." And she goes, "It makes me feel like my husband's not going to die tomorrow, And this they're not an older couple, they're a young couple. But it's just, she's like, it's made our relationship so much better. And I'm like, oh. And they've also, now they're walking together. And it's just, so that, that brings it together. And there's just so much more meaning to that than just, okay, my back doesn't bother me. Because there is a lot to come with that. But, that's what we try to, when we say when people walk in the door, they're not just getting taken care of from one thing. We're really looking at everything. We're looking at their total well-being and their happiness, and and trying to keep it within our scope. But it definitely does help them with all of those aspects.
Yeah, and I think people I am too. Sometimes you're stubborn about it. Like, oh, my back's been hurting for weeks.
Or you just accept
it. Yeah, and you think it's going to be that way for the rest of your life. It's not going to get fixed.
Yeah, we're so ingrained that I get older. My dad had arthritis. I'm going to have arthritis. Oh, I'm older. I should be moving slower. No, there's nothing. I mean, I do a lot of research, and there's nothing that shows that osteoarthritis is the demands or the lack of tolerance that we put on our body. But it's basically our own breakdown. But it doesn't happen naturally. It's not meant to happen. There's a reason that when you look at people from 100 years ago, why our bodies are breaking down so much more in terms of the joint aspect than their bodies were breaking down. One, were living longer, but they within those time frames that they are living, their bodies were so much because they took care of them, and by taking care of them, that was a means to surviving life. So they went out and gathered their own food, but that was exercise. Right. They weren't sitting at a desk for 10 hours a day. They're not driving. They don't have the stresses that we normally do now. So, and when we compare those lifestyles, there's a reason that things are breaking down, and it's because we're putting more demands on our body in a bad way, and we're not taking care of it. So if you want to do that, that's fine, but now you need to figure out, how can I now offset that? And, that's where the investment comes in. So you really have to, own up to it. And I've had people, that's another thing people always say to me is, you made me realize I don't have to be in pain. And it's not expected, it's not just, oh, I'm older, so I'm going to be in pain today. You don't have to be.
Right. So let's talk about the therapies that you guys use, and we'll take all the big shining ones all the way down to just the stretching piece. So the cryotherapy, so you guys have the cryo. So talk about that a little bit, what it is, what it does, because some people kind of don't know, and it's so new to them.
Sure.
So talk about that a little bit.
So basically you're standing in a chamber, a cylinder, your head is exposed. But basically, it's your body thinks it's going into hypothermia. It's not. But in doing so, because your body is thinking that way, all your blood is being pulled to your core from your extremities to protect the vital organs. And in that process, it's creating anti-inflammatory properties that as soon as you step out, all that quote-unquote clean, filtered blood with nutrients and things like that go rushing back to the extremities. one of the guys at work, Aaron, likes to think of it like an oil change for your blood. So on a scientific level, Michelle here with all her background can definitely speak to it on a more scientific level. But like in layman's terms, that's what it's doing. It's all that inflammation. It's really working that and flushing that. Flushing that out of the body.
It's been around since 1984 and it was developed in Japan for autoimmune conditions. And they were finding that if they can bring the body, basically get a major vasoconstriction of the blood, like he said, just thinking your body's going into hypothermia, is that they were able to pull out some of the blood that's getting stored into different parts of the body in different distal kind of regions. But not only that, it wasn't so much as the vasoconstriction as it is the vasodilation, which is the opening of the blood vessels. And everyone thinks, oh, cryo's bad, or cold's bad, we're pushing all this on blood flow. That's the benefit of it. You're getting a huge amount of blood flow back into the tissue that's normally not getting. There's many areas of our body that are not getting normal blood flow or good blood flow. We have damaged blood because we're either adding too much stress to a joint or we're damaging tissue or we're not even using that part of the joint. And you're basically getting a huge vasodilation of good, fresh blood back into that, which then helps to kind of clean that injured tissue out. So it's actually the thought of everything was, oh, cryo is cold, it's cold, it's cold, but it's creating such a huge vasodilation that it's helping to heal the body from within. And studies have shown that, there's a lot of studies that are pros and cons and if it works or doesn't, but the studies are basically showing that when they check the blood serum pre and post unanimously, they're finding that there's less inflammatory markers in the blood that's coming out, after. So that's showing that it's working. Now, symptomatically, they weren't getting the greatest results. They were figuring out, okay, we're still having people with pain. Well, yeah, and I always tell people is if you dislocate, as I was telling you the other day, if you dislocate your shoulder and you go into cryo, you come out, you're still going to be in pain because your shoulder is still dislocated. You're not changing the dynamics and the joint makeup. Your shoulder is still out of the socket. So it's still going to give off inflammation and pain. So you have to be able to still fix the cause. The studies show basically that as long as your parameters are correct in terms of how often you're using it, you're basically exposing it to, just like any other medicine, you're exposing yourself to it an appropriate amount of times, but also if you are doing something else with it. So, the best studies is if you were doing, whether it was just physical activity, physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, you had to do something else to fix the injured tissue, but it was giving myself, and therapy-wise, a gateway to get into that. Because sometimes there's such a wall up to inflammation that I can't break it down. Mm-hmm. I'm, physically unable to figure out how can I stir up so much of this blood flow that I can break down. Now I can fix something that's wrong. And I know what the problem is, but I can't get to it because the inflammation is kind of giving me such a problem. So that was the reason we incorporated it into our model, because it gave us a gateway to then be better therapists or be better trainers or be better massage therapists. It doesn't matter what it was. It was just a gateway to it. So I tell people, they always come into the office for it and they say, oh, okay, but I make sure that we get to understand, what are you using it for? Mm-hmm. Are you using it for back pain? Okay, have you been seen by someone? Oh yeah, I see a chiropractor once a week. Okay, great. Because you're at least doing something else. Because don't think, because I don't want it to look bad on us if they go, oh yeah, I've been doing
tried
chiropractic.
It didn't work.
It's like, well, what else are you doing? Because that's why cryo works. Is if you're doing something to fix the problem, then you'll be able to, kind of get the benefits out of it.
Is there a certain amount of sessions one would do with cryo? Like, I want to just go in Wednesday afternoon and to be like, oh, I'm better, I did the cryo Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, the research shows in the beginning you should do it a couple times a week. You'll get the most benefits. Doing it a couple times, but like anything else, your body gets acclimated to it. Same thing like medicine or anything like that. So we like to say, for the first 2 weeks, try to get in there 3 times a week, and then kind of go from there. Whether you dial it back to twice a week. But we certainly have people that come in and kind of do it on a maintenance level, where they just had a long week of work, or they're training for something, or they're going to be competing in the weekend. They'll definitely book a session. So I mean, everybody and literally everybody is different. So just listen to your body and things like that, and kind of
way that we have our packages, from a marketing standpoint, we tried to do it so it was not so much thought or you're prescribing it yourself. It's like fall into one of our packages,
Uh-huh.
and within our packages of how it's systematically put out, it's based on a certain need. So if you come in really acute and you're really bad, I'm going to say, okay, this package is better for you, not because we're trying to sell you the higher number. It's just because we're trying to get more sessions in a shorter period of time so that you're drawing the inflammation out. And then over time, you can kind of pull back. And actually, you should pull back because the whole point of it is to try to create such a rush. And like anything, if you create the same stimulus to the body's going to accommodate and get used to it, then it's not going to work. So when you step in, I mean, we've been doing it for years now, and there's times where I'm like, I'm not really feeling the benefits of it, and then I'm like, all right, let me not do it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then when I do it again, I'm like, oh my God,
You feel different.
now you feel the benefit because your body forgot what that rush
It's like
was.
craving it almost.
Yeah, so it's good, and we coach people through it. I always say we prescribe it accordingly, but we have to get to know what's going on and what state you're in, and what you're using it for. If you're just using it for a maintenance thing, then you can obviously just kind of do it once a week, but you're not going to see the benefits in one day. If anyone who comes in and says, "Oh my God, all my pain went away in one day," I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But it's more of it's coupled with itself. So it works usually over 2 or 3 sessions. You're going to start to see some of the inflammation go down.
On the flip side too, if somebody's like, "Oh, I tried it once and I didn't really think,
Yeah.
I didn't get anything from it." Like, "Oh, that's fine, okay," but like,
you have
give
to
it a chance.
Yeah.
Do it a couple times. Yeah.
What about the whole body PBM therapy?
So yeah, that's something that's brand new for us. We're one of 2 in the state that are offering it. It's gone from a handheld cold laser to we have a pad where you can kind of hit your whole lower back, to this full bed. We're very excited about it. The results have been great.
Technology is not new. It's
right.
been, laser has been around for a while. We've been using it in rehab for a while, but the bed itself and the makeup of now adding more
in this
wavelengths
type of setup.
is the newer thing.
Yeah.
So I've always loved laser. I've used it on soft tissue injuries. Basically, the science behind it is that it's working at a cellular level when you're getting kind of emitted certain wavelengths at a certain parameter. Your body's telling the mitochondria, which is like the little workhouse of the cell, to work a little faster, and it speeds up the mitochondria, which helps to increase collagen synthesis. When you have more collagen synthesis, especially in an injured tissue, it's repairing the tissue. So I always tell people is your normal body goes through certain stages of healing, and this is just kind of pushing it along. It's kind of giving some caffeine to the system to let it get it going a little bit quicker. So when we've started to look into, we actually were introduced to it from a bed standpoint. I went into and looked at it, okay, do you really need a whole bed? Like, can you just use our laser and do certain parts, when it's a handheld on certain areas? And then I got introduced to this one company that we're with now, and it's been great because it's different wavelengths, which tacks into a little more systemic effect. So you're not so. Same thing with cryo. Cryo is a systemic reaction. So even though the top of your head can hurt and you're not getting exposed to it, it's still going to systemically help. The light wave is the same thing. You're trying to systemically create more collagen to grow in your tissue, and then your body figures out where it needs it, and then it'll help to replenish some of the tissue damage.
What about the normatec compression?
So yeah, it's one of our first things that we introduced. So yeah, you're basically using compressed air to massage the limbs, all that lactic acid in your muscles that kind of causes that soreness. Kind of flushes that up and out of whether it's your arms, legs. We also have a hip attachment. You're on it for 30 minutes. But also with that, you can come in, like I said, you can come in and use it for 30 minutes. But it's also been great on a physical therapy standpoint on a swelling aspect. If somebody's coming in, with a torn ACL, they can end therapy with that to kind of control the swelling and things like that.
So does that do more like a massage thing? Is that kind of what it does?
So yeah, so I'll get a little scientific again. It's not. This has been around for a while. This has been technology.
Layman's terms, scientific.
Yeah, they've been using it. They've been using it in hospitals, to avoid any DVTs or blood clots. So if you are post-op in the hospital and you wake up and you feel these things compressing on your calves, that's what it is. However, this technology, working with Normatec, the company that we have, it works with the lymphatic system. So it's working in chambers and helping to create a gradient flow back up to the lymph nodes. So I'll use the legs because that's mostly, so it works in different chambers. It starts with the feet distally and kind of works proximally. And whenever there is damaged tissue, whether, I say that normatec is best used for circulation. So if you have any type of vascular insufficiencies, you have any swelling, you've had recent surgery, you're having some type of disruption to the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is getting a hit. And the lymphatic system is throughout our whole entire body, and its purpose is to make sure that fluid doesn't kind of pool in certain areas. So it's kind of pushing, and it works against, going back up into the lymph nodes to kind of draw out any of the, bad things and things are getting kind of stored in that area. So when we've used it in a post-op setting, we're finding that if we can create circulation and get fluid out of the area, this tissue then can kind of heal a little bit quicker. So from a therapy standpoint, we've incorporated it in, most of our patients, almost all of our patients. I almost say that no patient cannot benefit unless they have anything that contradicts it, but for the most part, almost every patient can benefit from it because we all have swelling of some sort. I work on cement floors for the most part, and at the end of the day, your ankles get a little swollen. It's like if you're traveling in an airplane, you're definitely going to have some swelling issues. People come off of business trips, you're going to notice that you're probably just going to be a little puffier. It's just natural response of your body's trying to work itself out and trying to get some lymphatic drainage, and with that, that helps it. But athletes use it. Obviously, it gets out lactic acid, soreness, and yes, it is a massage, but it is working in more of a systemic way, that it's working with your body's system on how to push the fluid out appropriately. So it's just not squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax.
You guys also have an infrared sauna on site?
Yeah, so we incorporated the sauna, again, just another part for circulation. Not one of our scientific ones. People always are like, what does that do? I'm like, just what you think it does. It just detoxes you. It was a good add to our I guess all of our modalities, because one, people like doing it right after cryo, especially in these times of the year when it's really cold out. They want to warm up quickly. The sauna kind of was added, but it does add a huge bonus to detox. I had a patient who got a lot of benefits from it. He big avid worker out and runner, and he just had his knee replaced, and he's like, I just miss sweating. Like, I didn't realize how much sweating was so good for me. It just made me feel good. And he did the sauna for a month, and he was just like, oh my God, I know I can't run right now, but that sweat just helps you. It just kind of detoxes your body. There's also a relaxation component to it. So, again, not really scientific, but, it's pretty standard and straightforward. But in our brick office, we do have some fighters that are there in the MMA industry that use it, if they're having to cut some weight and manage, their weight a little bit differently.
Yeah. You also say you have some hands-on recovery. So is that like a massage therapist? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it ties into, obviously, we've been talking about physical therapy a lot. So, yeah, we do have a massage therapist. We do cupping, fascial stretch therapy. We work into something called the Raptor. It's using percussion therapy. If anybody's ever seen like a Theragun or a Tim Tam, it's this company, Hyperice. They have their model. As a sales pitch, it's faster, more percussion per minute than the others. Quieter. Yes, some of those out there are very, very loud. So we, as we talk about it, we do offer a lot. We like to, all under one roof, because, we Erica, who works for us, she's like, it's almost like creating a cocktail for the person, right? What you like or what your body responds to, the other person might not. So we like to offer a lot. Going back to the sauna, that's why we kind of brought it in, because people do benefit from it. What you don't like, the other person will like. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, we like to, with the hands-on aspect. Again, you might not need the physical therapy. You might just need kind of a quote-unquote tune-up. You come in, you're a little sore, you just want to get a good stretch before an event or whatever the case may be, and we have those people on staff. So it's, especially with the physical therapy, a lot of people don't know. You're like, all right, so they walk in like, oh, hey, we show them, give them a tour. Like, all right, so I'll go to my doctor and get my prescription. Well, in the state of New Jersey, which is great, we're a direct access state, so you can come in and start physical therapy without that script to start, and then it's our job to follow up with doctors and things like that to cover our bases. But a lot of people don't know that, which is sometimes an uphill battle, but it's nice to educate those that need it. But again, after physical therapy, if we discharge and they quote unquote graduate, they have the means to then, whether they don't need an actual physical therapist, but we do have people on staff that, hey, every now and then you want to get work done. We have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
Kind of, like I said, offer a lot under one roof to figure out what's going to benefit the person.
You guys also have an anti-gravity treadmill. So what do you guys use that for?
Basically, you can take up to 80% of your body weight off. Kind of feels like you're if well, I've obviously never been to the moon, but I imagine what it's being up there. But you can mess with it works just like a regular treadmill, except with that caveat of taking the body weight off. So whether you're rehabbing something, again, we use it on a physical therapy aspect, on injuries and things like that. But we've had people coming in, whether they're training for a triathlon, marathons, a 5K. Yeah, we had a guy trying to make the Jamaican Olympic team. Trying to, in the winter, kind of keeping up, his miles, and you're not pounding the pavement, literally. So it saves the joints and things like that. But we've also had people incorporated where they've been trying to get back into running or walk, just simply walking. But their knees have been hurting them so much that they literally can't go around the block.
Most people who don't really need the weight taken off, if they just take off 10%, 15%, it's like a world of a difference. It's so, you don't realize how heavy your legs get sometimes when you're running. And, in turn, what they get out of it is they can run longer and they have less stress on their body, which means they have less inflammation, which means that they recover better. So there's definitely, even if they don't have anything wrong, just by that little bit of percentage off, really, really helps. And, but then again, from a therapeutic standpoint, we've used it on an array of patients. We work, with a lot, any type of foot injury, that we have these athletes who they need to keep up their mileage. Well, I can't because I just had, an ankle sprain or something. So we're able to then put them in at a certain percentage where they're not getting the impact and disrupting the healing process and hurting our recovery timeline, but they're able to still get to the workout in. But yeah, we keep exploring more and more avenues, to which when I first got it, it was like, okay, weight bearing, knee, ankle, okay. I use it now on my amputee patients. We've obviously used it on stroke patients with Parkinson's, just to get better feedback. It gives you such a security in the way that it's set up so that they don't feel like, and physically, if they do fall, they're caught, so they're not feeling like, okay, I'm scared to be on a treadmill.
Fall off the back.
Yeah, if you pick your feet up, it'll basically just suspend you. So it's a really good sense of confidence for the patient and anyone else who's doing it, so that then they can, get that feedback and be like, okay, now I can use it as a means to better walking.
Right. How about the kinstretch and mobility training?
Yeah, so I've been studying with functional range conditioning. I've been studying under them for, a couple of years now, and
probably since we opened up, 3 years.
Yeah, so I've done my functional release certification, 3 different levels. I've done functional range conditioning, and then went on to do kinstretch certification. Basically, what it is, and it really clicked with me because I went to the first course and I said, this is exactly what I kind of needed. That was what I was looking for. And what basically the philosophy is that, we look at our bodies, and I was saying before, is that there's nothing that's saying that our body's supposed to be breaking down this much each year, and that it's based on what we're not doing to it. We're not taking care of it. So, most of the philosophy to the FRC, and which helps us in rehab and also for other points, is that it's working on seeing what your limitations are with your mobility and also with your stability. So if you end up having some loss of certain ranges and motion in your joints, then it's going to have some type of negative effect on you. And so we incorporated that, obviously, from a rehab standpoint. I use it as an assessment tool to take my patients through. It's a better system to where I can give them certain movements to then practice on their own. And then now we've incorporated the kinstretch, which is basically a class. It's just basically a mobility class. And we say that it's not yoga. It's for anybody who wants more out of their body. If you have certain restrictions in your range of motion, you should come to the class. And it's not easy. it's, when I sometimes run the class, I do maybe 3 or 4 moves, but it takes us 50 minutes to do, because you're really slowing it down and you're breaking it down to really push more demand towards your joint to get it. And it's done through different techniques and different things that we teach in the class. But we've really expanded on it. Almost all of our therapists and techs are all certified in FRC. It's one of our foundational things that we believe in our company, that they all should be certified in it, because it is a universal language amongst us. And it's something that I think, like I said, speaks well to what our philosophy is take care of your own body. I don't want you to have to invest in me. I want you to invest in yourself. And that means maybe use me up front, maybe to gain access to feeling better right now, but I want you to learn how to do it on your own so that you don't have to pay me every single time. And this is another outlet to, if once they've finished therapy or they've done something else, then they can kind of intermittently come into the classes and kind of check themselves and reevaluate. Is everything moving the way it should be? But we've had such great success stories from it. We used to have a man who came in for therapy. He could barely get up off of, the regular sized chair. He was pretty athletic. He was going in his 60s. He's in his 60s, yeah, late 60s. And he definitely was not able to squat, but he had no reason to squat. He's like, I don't need to squat anything. I'm like, well, you need to get up from the floor, right? That's a squat, and he was having trouble. He had grandkids, and he's like, so he came to the class, and he would come once a week, and he would just kind of take something from it and go do it. And it's funny now, he can squat down to the ground, and he doesn't even think anything of it. And I said, you said, and he was the typical man that was like, I never was able to do it. Why should I be able to do it now? I said, but you should demand that, because by not doing it, by not moving your joints in certain ways, your body is drying up. And that's what breakdown in arthritis is. It's basically you're not putting demands and you're not stressing the joint in a certain way so that you can create that movement pattern. And if you don't do it every single day, then you're going to lose it. And you've lost it over 60-something years, and now you're working. Yeah. So, and he's still diligent about coming, but he was a funny one, because he would be the one that would be grunting and almost cursing you out during the class, like, I don't need to do this. I'm like, I didn't make you come, but he still comes and he still is going. So we've had great success stories with a lot of the mobility. We do one-on-one mobility sessions for people who really need more of that, one-on-one kind of experience. But they can come to the class and obviously get it out of it, what they need to, and kind of incorporate it into their daily routine of mobility. But it's definitely a different system. Like I said, we encourage anyone to come in. It can be from anyone from, a 10-year-old soccer player to my 75-year-old,
grandpa.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're able to modify it, but also we can have 5 people in the class of all different levels, and they're all going to get something out of it. So it's been a really good part, to everything.
How about the TPI golf screening for your golfers out there?
So yeah, it's something that, again, we wanted to just keep branching out and kind of offering. So myself, Michelle, and as well as her brother Danny, who's an avid golfer, we again, we're just looking for things. So we're not a golf coach. We're not going to
Lower your handicap.
Yeah, so we're basically looking at the body and seeing how it's going to be more efficient in terms of a golf swing. So there's a screening process, a 16-step screening process. The way we set it up is, we screen you. We bring Michelle in on a therapy level. Myself or Danny will do the screen itself, run through the test, and then build exercise programs from there, work into mobility and things like that, work in video analysis. So again, just look at your body, where you're deficient in it, and kind of work to build that aspect up of, maybe you have back pain with your swing. All right, let's address that and fix that, so that, again, you're not, the next day after your round, you're not, wondering, why did I just play and I can't play for another 2 weeks. So again, it's just kind of building up your body to the point where you can comfortably golf.
Yeah, it was always a surprise to me when I look at golfers. We golf ourselves, and I look at golfers, and I'm
Try
like,
to.
how is that person moving?
Yeah.
I mean, I know, watching my dad, he could barely get off the couch, but yet he's going and playing 18 holes, and I'm like, that can't go right. That just can't be happening. How are you rotating that much through your trunk in order to hit the ball? And then I'd watch him swing, and I'd be like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, TPI as a company themselves, they're not trying to perfect. They're not trying to make everyone have the same swing. They're understanding that everyone has different swings. You know, they look at all the pro golfers, and every single pro golfer on the PGA Tour has a different type of swing. However, the ones who are most efficient with their body is the ones that are probably going to get the best outcomes. So bring that down to layman's and basically people that are doing it on on the weekends is, I don't want you to come in and complain to me that your back hurt after 18 holes, because I know that your thoracic spine doesn't move. And if you understand, particularly with the golf swing and with that sport, is that each kind of area or each joint is supposed to move in a certain way, and if you don't, you're going to compensate somewhere else, and that's basically what it comes down to. So, we kind of brought into the screening process from a very analytical standpoint, but then also the therapy side of it is, I know how the body should move and why it should move. Now I need to put a screen with that to show you, okay, if you have a fault in 5 of these different steps, you're probably going to be maybe slicing it, or you're going to probably have a short, you're going to probably have a short drive or whatever. It does correlate to faults on the golf course, but again, we're not here to fix those faults. We're just here to fix your body, and then those improve your faults. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What about do you guys do running assessments and some performance training as well?
So the certifications that we've had, 3 of us are certified in what's called a pose running method. It is a method to which, again, you just use your body efficiently. Understanding how forces are applied in a scientific standpoint when gravity's hitting us and how much we are able to load our body. If you do it far from that, then you're going to be overloading or underusing certain muscles, and that's when breakdown occurs. So if you're overstriding or understriding, or if you have too much of a trunk lean, and we basically will, again, video analysis, we'll look at you run, kind of watch to see how your posture is and what your alignment is and at what point you're loading your joints, and then we just fix that. And then in turn, that makes you a more efficient runner. So I tell people I'm not trying to make you faster, but it does make you faster, the technique itself. So it's a little confusing at first because running is a sport that nobody really ever learned how to do it. You just
go.
Yeah, you just do it. I mean, yes, now people have running coaches, but in terms of everyone's been running since they were a little kid. So it's a sport that you really didn't need much other than a pair of shoes, and if not, now people don't even run with shoes. But it's a sport that really is not. There's no foundational training to it. It's not like hockey, where if you want to play hockey, you're going to have to get some lessons. Nobody got lessons in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but people somehow developed this stride, and then over time, it might not be working for their body. So they're the ones that are coming in going, my Achilles hurts every time I run, or my left hip is always bothering me, or they're coming in for the same injury time after time, and I say, okay, I can fix the injury, but if I'm not fixing what's causing the injury, which is your mechanics, you're going to get injured. So I want to make myself look better and fix that, and then not have to heal you anymore. We've been doing the running screenings, and we incorporate again that with most of our clients who are runners or any type of athletes that are doing running. And then the performance side of it, we have a couple physical personal trainers that have been working with us, and they bring into, again, it's another way when we're graduating a patient from therapy. Okay, I don't feel comfortable in a gym. I don't feel comfortable going out there and training with someone that doesn't really know my body. You guys know my body, and you know what I can and cannot do. So we keep it in-house. So they then work with our trainers, whether it's once a week or once every other week or twice a week, doesn't matter. They kind of program it however they want. Just to maintain what we got or make some more, legitimate goals with it. And we are expanding on our training program as we've kind of are flourishing more into our brick office. We're going to be expanding into, the training component to it. And we've also incorporated, I call it a women's class. It's not restricted to women, but it's all women. Twice a week that they run like a small little group class that is run by one of our trainers, and that's probably the happiest hour of our whole entire facility, because these are women who were never exercising, that came in because of injuries. For most point, all of them are exercising. I mean, they're doing like rope pulls, and they're doing.
Sometimes you walk through and you're like to the gym area, and you're like, oh, so and so is over there in her jeans or whatever it is, doing her battle ropes or whatever. It's cool to see.
And these are women who never worked out a day in their life, but they feel so comfortable there.
Yeah, they're not getting lost in a big
Yeah.
type of setting. And again, they know us. We're familiar faces, whether it's on a therapy side or just people, the general people walking through, our staff walking through. They know everybody there, and they're like Michelle's saying, they're comfortable. They've been there before. It's they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and we protect them, because I want to make sure, we have a pretty open facility, so I can kind of see stuff even as a therapist, like from every angle. So if I see that they're not moving well, I'm like, what's going on over there? And I'll kind of grab them after and say, what happened? So it's nice checks and balances to the whole system. So again, like you said, they don't get lost, they don't get re-injured. We're kind of staying on top of them with everything.
Yeah.
I just want to emphasize again that you guys are for that average person out there. While the world-class athlete does come into your place, that the average runner or weekend warrior can come in for those modalities. Talk a little bit about if people do want to come into your shop in the Ocean County facility or the Monmouth County facility. Talk about your website, your Instagram, your socials, so people can reach out to you guys if they want.
So you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Current Recovery. Website Current Recovery NJ as in New Jersey .com. So yeah, we're up in Belmar between 8th and 10th Ave. We always use the landmark of 10th Ave Burrito. We're in that shopping center, right next to the West Marine store. You'll find us there. And down in Brick, which right Nick Catone's beautiful new facility, we're right next door to him. We've just been there. I guess this is the start of our 3rd month, so we're excited to be down in Ocean County. But yeah, you can give us a call. 732-428-7472 is our main number. We have all our information online on the website. We always encourage people, if you're curious about us or about kind of what we offer, come in for a tour. It's much easier to talk to somebody. We always like to get in front of people and to kind of explain who we are and what we do. Hopefully this kind of sheds some light on that as well. But also we get to know the person. Like what are you looking to gain from us? What's bothering you? It's much easier, again, to point them in the right direction of what we offer and figuring it out that way. And then, sometimes like the cryotherapy is intimidating for somebody. We can actually show them the machine and kind of walk them through what the process is, and answer any questions or any hesitations and things like that. Or, if we can, like the normatec, if they're curious about it and, there is no contraindications, we can have them trial it for a few minutes and see if they like it and, things like that. So to kind of answer any fears or kind of put any fears to rest. But no, we've I think come a long way in the last couple of years. But it's been exciting. It's we love what we do. We love offering this type of thing. Like you said, you see these types of things in professional locker rooms. But the everyday, the 9 to 5er, so to speak, the people just working out for leisure to help themselves. We want to make sure that they continue to do so. That they don't drop out of going to a class or going to the gym because they got knocked up or not knocked up. That's a poor choice of terms. Knocked around or get an injury or maybe knocked up. Who knows? We have the means to be able to allow them to continue to do what they love to do, and whether it's not working out, but just feeling good about themselves and taking care of their bodies. Really.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. I appreciate you guys coming in and being on the show.
No, thanks for having us. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.